Alright, this is the part of the year where the transfer rumours really start to ramp up. We've got loads to discuss in today's video. If we do miss anything though, let me know about it in the comments down below and we'll give it a mention next time. Before we jump into any transfer news, let's start off with some managerial talk. So we've had even more speculation on Danny Roll's future. He's recently held talks with Werder Bremen, but apparently those talks didn't go too well and so he won't be landing that job either. And he now finds himself in a bit of an awkward situation. The way he's been interviewing and saying some things to the press recently, he's made it pretty clear that he thinks he's got ambitions of, above Sheffield Wednesday going into next season, but right now he's got no job to walk into. At one point he looked nailed on for the Southampton job, that's since gone to Will Still. RB Leipzig was sniffing around him at one point, but they've now moved on from that. He won't be getting the Werder Bremen job either. There is a scenario where Danny Roll is still the Sheffield Wednesday boss on the first game of next season, and things could be a bit awkward between him and that fan base after how these last few weeks have gone for him. Wednesday fans, what's your whole take on the situation right now? Ryan Mason is the #1 target for West Brom. Not the sort of route I thought the Baggies would go down, but they're set to hold talks with him. He's obviously a coach at Spurs. He's been the interim boss there on a couple of occasions as well. Very easy to forget just how young he still is because he retired so long ago, but only 33 years old. But going off the latest reports, he is West Brom's #1 managerial target right now. Baggies fans, what would you make of that appointment? Obviously, we've not got a massive track record to go off with Mason, but he's got a fair bit of coaching experience already under his belt from his time behind the scenes at Spurs. Sergei Yakirovich and Nuri Sahin are the latest two managers to be linked with the Hull City job. By this point, it feels like Hull have been linked with about 100 managers over the last couple of weeks. It's obvious that they're going to be looking at the European market for their next manager. Talks are still being held going off the latest reports. Got a couple more names in there now for Hull fans to consider. And while Plymouth boss Miran Muslik had been linked with a few championship vacancies, it looks like he'll be heading to Schalke. The German club have activated his release clause. Been a bit of a biting club statement that's come out from Plymouth Argyle's end as well, that they've reluctantly had to accept that fact, despite already backing him in the transfer market with a few players and their plans going into League One. But after how well he did at Plymouth in that end to the season, I think it probably was always going to be a little bit unlikely that he was going to stick it out in League One with how many offers he was likely going to get. But like I say, despite a few championship clubs being keen on him, it looks like he's heading to Schalke. In terms of some done deals that we've seen go through recently, this one's been a long time coming, but Daniel Everson has completed his return to Preston North End, this time on a permanent basis. And myself as a Preston fan, I am absolutely buzzing with this news. He was absolutely brilliant last time we had him on loan. He's not played that much football recently. He's been behind the scenes at Leicester, either as a #2 or #3 since. He's had obviously a loan move out to Stoke City as well. But I think this is a step in the right direction for North End and our recruitment this summer. I think it is an upgrade on Freddie Woodman, who's obviously left on a free transfer. We've got Everson tied down to a long-term contract as well, which is quite nice. Still only 27 years old, which for goalkeeping terms is fairly young as well. I just think this one ticks a lot of boxes. We have now had official confirmation from Norwich City that they've signed Jacob Wright. They exercised their purchase option after the midfielder was on loan during the second half of the season from Manchester City. The fee believed to be around about 2.3 million. I think that's a good deal for Norwich. He's only 19 years old. He's going to grow into that side and develop over these next few years. I think that makes a lot of sense. But now without any further ado, let's jump into some transfer rumours. So we've had a bit more on the future of Gustavo Hamer. Reportedly, Everton have made an inquiry to Sheffield United about purchasing the midfield star. Now, it'll be interesting to see how much Sheffield United are actually holding out for this summer. I can't see him playing in the Championship next season. I think one way or another he will be playing top flight football next season. They did reject a £13 million offer from Leeds last season, and he's just coming off the back of a really good season in the Championship where he won Championship Player of the Season. Leeds themselves still sniffing around this sort of deal, but Everton definitely one of the most prominent Premier League sides being linked with him at this point. Southampton have agreed a deal to sign German defender Joshua Kwasi, coming over from Hoffenheim. He's a 20-year-old centre-half, stands at 6'5", has just spent this most recent season out on loan in the German second division, and Southampton have paid a fee of around about 3.5 million to secure his services. So the first signing there under Will Still looks to be all but complete. There's plenty of Championship interest in Peterborough United fullback James Donnelly. You've got the likes of West Brom, Coventry, Blackburn, Oxford, who are all interested, as well as Fulham in the Premier League as well. He's 20 years old, has made his breakthrough this season. The good news for Peterborough is that the defender is on a long-term contract with the club, valid until 2028, and so you'd imagine they could hold out for a decent fee here, especially with a lot of Championship clubs supposedly interested. Both West Brom and Rangers are supposedly interested in George Bello, who's currently playing out in Austria. He's got 1 year left on his contract and is supposedly valued at around about that 1 million mark. Looks like a fairly versatile player, can play sort of anywhere on that left-hand side, whether it's as a fullback, a left midfielder, or even further forward as an out-and-out winger. He's only 23 years old and looks to have a turn of pace about him. But as of recording, neither West Brom or Rangers have submitted an official offer or anything like that. Bristol City have been linked with a move for United States defender George Campbell. He's currently playing for Montreal in the MLS. Now, there have been some conflicting reports coming out about this one and how interested Bristol City actually are in the player. He'd reportedly be available for around £1 million. You've got Alex Crook from TalkSport, who's claimed that Bristol City are interested and are sniffing around this deal. But then some conflicting reports have come out from Ron Walker, who works for Sky Sports, and says that the story of Bristol City's interest in the defender is a little bit wide of the mark. So we'll probably know a bit more about that story over these next few days. But interesting that the rumours are still popping up around Bristol City with everything that's going on there with Liam Manning at the moment. Both Sheffield Wednesday and Swansea are interested in signing former Bolton defender Ricardo Santos, who is available on a free transfer. If any Bolton fans watch these videos, I'd be interested to get their sort of perspective on this one, because from the outside looking in, didn't look like he had the best of seasons last time around. And he is 29 now and has never played above League One level throughout his career. So, listen, I'm in no doubt there is a good player in there. You know, Bolton have seen that in previous years gone by, but are you getting the player right now at the peak of his ability? I don't know. I suppose on a free transfer, a few clubs would be willing to take that sort of gamble. Paul Valentin is the latest player to be linked with both Preston North End and Derby County. We're both chasing the same fullback targets. Both of us were linked with Cody Drammer, but that's not really gone anywhere of late. Hull are wanting £1 million for him, and it doesn't look like either Preston or Derby value him at that amount of money. So now we've turned our attention to Valentin, who is out of contract. He's available on a free. A tricky one to put your finger on, really. You can tell that he does have a bit about him, but quite inconsistent from whenever I've seen him, to be honest with you. My sort of concern from a North End perspective would be, I think we need someone in that sort of right wing-back role, who's obviously going to be able to be both strong at both ends of the pitch, and is going to be able to contribute and chip in with goals or assists going forward. And that's not really been his game at Sheffield Wednesday. In 70 Championship appearances over the last 2 seasons, he's only got 1 goal contribution. I really think that's an area where North End need to look to improve next season. We can't be as reliant on just our strikers getting goals. We need goal contributions coming from all over the pitch. On the free, I can see why maybe we'd be interested, but we'll wait and see over these next few days if that rumour has any legs to it for either Derby or Preston. No real shock, but it's been said that Ryan Giles is extremely unlikely to be returning to Middlesbrough this summer. Was really good at the Riverside during his first stint there. Second time around, not really much so. He struggled to break into that team in the second half of the season. Didn't make that much of an impact in the games he played either, and so we'll be going back to Hull for next season. And I suppose that whoever is that new manager coming in has got to give him a chance. Hull themselves paid a fair bit of money to get him from Luton, didn't they? So they're not just going to want to write that off as a loss. But so far, Hull fans are definitely yet to see the best of his ability. Speaking of Hull, as previously stated, they have been in discussions with Semi Ajayi over bringing him in on a free transfer, having recently been released by West Brom. But you've also still got Reading in League One, who are in the mix to sign him as well. Chelsea is said to be closing in on the purchase of Ipswich Town forward Liam Delap. There's obviously plenty of Premier League interest in the Ipswich forward right now, given his £30 million release clause. The likes of Man United, Newcastle and Everton have all reportedly held talks, or at least held an interest in him, but the striker appears to be leaning towards Chelsea right now. Amazing how far he's come in these last few years. It was only a couple of years ago that he had those 2 quite struggling loan spells out with Stoke City and Preston North End, but after a really good year in the Premier League, he'll definitely be off this summer. Kwame Poku is one of the most in-demand players that we've got in this transfer window right now. Obviously, he's just left Peterborough United upon his contract expiring there, and going off the latest reports, as many as 26 clubs have expressed an interest in signing him. Now, up until this point, it's always seemed as if Birmingham have been the most predominant side in the race to get his signature. There were those reports that we had coming out a few weeks ago that they were prepared to offer him a 30 grand a week contract. Well, Blues are still very much in the race to sign him, but there are a lot of other big dogs who are also in the race. You've got Sheffield United who have expressed an interest, Sunderland as well, so there's even some Premier League interest right now. Obviously, he is available technically on a free transfer, but any club that does sign him, they'd have to pay some compensation towards Peterborough, so that's worth taking into consideration as well. From the player's perspective, I mean, he's got the pick of all these clubs at the moment, hasn't he? Does he back himself to go to someone like a Sunderland? Will he play regularly in the Premier League? I'm not so sure. One thing that is for certain though is whoever gets him, I think you are getting a very good player. That's seen by how many clubs are chasing him right now. Celta Vigo fullback Javi Ruda has been linked with a move to Middlesbrough. He's most recently spent this season out on loan in the Spanish second division. He's 23 years old, came up through the Real Madrid academy, or at least spent a few years in that Madrid academy as a youngster. According to reports in Spain, an offer of around about 3 million is said to be on the table. But as of recording, I've not seen any English outlets reporting on that one, so let's wait and see. But there you guys have it. That will now wrap it up for today's video. Thank you very much for tuning in. If you did go to enjoy, make sure to drop a like, and if you've seen any other rumours going around, make sure to let me know about them in the comments down below. As always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.